Hello, dear gentle viewers, and welcome to Common Misconception Debunking Friday. Are we calling it that? Okay, we're calling it that. It's a long name, but you know what? You need to know when you're being lied to by memes and people and the internet. So I'm here to provide you with researched information so you will be a smarty pants at the next party and can be annoying and tell everybody that what they're saying is wrong. Yep, maybe it's not such a good idea. Misconception number uno is the vomitorium was not a room where Romans went to vomit. That's just really gross. Do you think fancy people like the Romans who enjoyed their fancy clothing and the fancy jewelries and the fancy hairs and wigs and stuff would go and hang out in a room to vomit? No. The vomit part of the word comes from vomitum, which means to spew forth. And while that still might make you think of vomiting and the vomitorium and puking and grossness, well, I'm sorry, but it's not. A vomitorium is actually the passageway through which people would travel to get in and out of an amphitheater or a stadium. And you know what? We still use vomitoria today. Think about your local stadium, or however close you are to a stadium. You come in through entrances underneath the seats throughout all of the levels, depending on how big it is. The next misconception on our list for today, number 2, is that embassies and consulates are not actually the soil of the country they represent. So a Spanish embassy or consulate in, say, Canada here would not actually be part of Spain, because that's just silly. It's still part of Canada. I think it's all just a misunderstanding about the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, which states that no host country, i.e. Canada, can enter the Spanish embassy or consulate without the country, Spain, permission. Of course, this is challenged from time to time, just like when Julian Assange was in the London embassy for Ecuador. Now it's time for misconception number 3. Twinkies do not have an infinite shelf life. That's just disgusting. Apparently, the current recipe allows for 45 days of shelf life, with the original recipe only having 25. But since Twinkies tend to sell out between 7 and 10 days, it's not really an issue. I shall again express my disgust with gross foods that have nasty chemicals in them to make them last longer. But I'm not gonna sit here and tell you what you can and cannot put in your body. It's your body. If you like Twinkies, eat Twinkies. I wonder if there's a recipe. Now on to misconception number 4. You cannot see the Great Wall of China from the moon. Even astronauts in orbit around Earth, which is a hell of a lot closer than you are than from the moon, can't see the Great Wall of China. Yes, even on a really spectacularly clear day. The only man-made object we can really see from space are the lights, because we're bright people. And misconception femme is not an acronym for fornication under consent of king, or for unlawful carnal knowledge. These acronyms were thought to have been written above the stocks of people who were in them for, well, being adulterers, but that's just not true. And it also did not originate from the Battle of Agincourt in the 15th century as a corruption of pluck you, which is pretty much what the English did all the time and really well up until fairly recently with those amazing yew longbows. Crazy. The earliest use of the word came in 1475 in the form of a poem, because that's where we get all the awesome words. The poem was called Flen Flies, and the derivative fuckant appeared. It seems the poet wrote the word in a Latin conjugation. In the end, is Proto-Germanic in origin, related to either the Dutch fokken or the German ficken, which means to breed, or to the Norwegian fucka, which means to copulate or breed. So that's it for today. I hope you have a good weekend, and I'll see you next week.